Lying is something that most people do for the first time as toddlers. Lies come in all shapes, sizes, and severity levels, and depending on who you ask, they're either the worst thing in the world or something that everyone does. Most of us have told a little white lie, but some lies aren't small at all. Some lies can cause problems in a relationship or lead to an embarrassing reveal later. But some lies? Well, some lies make it so no one actually knows where you are when something goes very wrong. My name is Brienne, and I'm the host and creator of Among the Dirt and Trees, a show where we explore true crime cases that occur out in nature. In today's episode, we're going to discuss the disappearance and likely murder of Robyn Gardner, a woman who went on a vacation to Aruba in 2011 and vanished within 48 hours of her arrival. There are a lot of reasons that you might want to visit Aruba in the summer with a potential love interest. Back in 2011, we weren't worried about the pandemic or any travel restrictions, really. Back then, a trip to Aruba was just a trip to Aruba. And going with someone who was interested in paying for it only made it that much better. But sometimes, a trip to Aruba isn't just a trip to Aruba. In this case, the trip was kind of a touchy subject, because it wasn't carried out under the best circumstances. Before Robyn Gardner ever left for Aruba, she was back home in Maryland with her boyfriend. Things weren't going all that well, and the two were fighting quite a bit. In fact, it seems like a lot of tension was building between them, but before you get any ideas, don't blame the boyfriend. At least not this one. With the fights at home, Robyn decided to leave. She told her boyfriend, Richard Forrester, that she was going to go visit her parents back in Florida. This wasn't unusual. Then she said that she was going to be on a trip with her parents. And that wasn't unusual either, but it was a lie. In reality, Robyn was not going on vacation with her parents. She was going to Aruba with a man named Gary Giordano. He was a businessman and quite a bit older than Robyn. The two met online and had maintained contact off and on for at least a year, much to the disappointment of her friends who really didn't like this guy. So you can imagine how they all felt when they learned that she was going on a trip with him. And one of her friends didn't like him for a pretty specific reason. This man kept trying to get Robyn to go on a trip with him, and when she said no, he would get really mad. So at this point, Robyn went to an island with a guy that most people didn't know about, and that her friends were also pretty worried about. But initially, things started out fine. For the first couple of days, the two of them would enjoy their vacation together. There are all kinds of pictures with them looking pretty happy. But on their final day together, things changed. Later reports would reveal that Robyn and Gary were seen fighting. And at some point, they dropped by a local restaurant. Though there's nothing all that odd about this, the waitress did tell police that Robyn didn't exactly seem sober. After their meal, Robyn and Gary left, and this is where the evidence kind of drops off. According to Gary, the two decided to go snorkeling together, which is a fun and friendly activity for couples, right? Unfortunately, it is also when things took a turn. He told police that he and Robyn were out snorkeling when a strong current set in. Fearing the risks, he signaled to Robyn that it was time to go back, but then, after a period of time, he said that he realized she was gone. He said, rather matter-of-factly, that Robyn drowned, and implied that she probably had help in that. According to him, Robyn was mixing vodka and sleeping pills, which is obviously less than ideal. But also, how strange is that? You know, there are a lot of stories about people who didn't stop someone from doing something dangerous that ultimately caused regret down the line. It does happen, but if he knew that Robyn was mixing alcohol and some kind of sedative, why on earth would they be going snorkeling out in the ocean? It would kind of surprise me if he didn't question the safety of the situation in general, especially if they didn't really know each other that well. Now, you might think that Gary would share this in a kind of concerned way, right? If you were snorkeling in the water with anyone, much less a love interest, would you be really calm if they suddenly vanished out in the water? Probably not, right? Well, that was not the case with Gary. He just strolled back into the restaurant and asked to call the police. At this point, police noticed that he had some scratches, and they wanted to know more, but first, they needed to look for Robyn. She could still be out there, right? A search party was formed out on the water to look for her. Something interesting about this is that Gary was actually a licensed scuba diver. So he probably really could have helped and he just refused to. Also weird. During the search, police found no evidence of Robyn, and they weren't entirely sure that she went out on the water at all. No witnesses could confirm that the couple went swimming. But there was literally no other evidence to go by. At least there wasn't initially. Every true crime fan has a moment where they're watching a true crime show and just end up unbelievably frustrated by the poor decision making of the criminals. For me, this is one of those moments. He ended up on a police radar again quite quickly when they received a call from American Express. Now, before I ran off to join the self-employed world, I used to work for a financial firm. And the finance industry is very concerned with fraud. Understandably so. With that being said, in case you didn't know this, if you ever call a financial firm or any finance company and seem really sketchy, they will report it to police as potential fraud. Especially if you're calling to redeem a $1.5 million life insurance policy on a person that you have no legal relation to, and you seem really excited about it. Right before Robyn and Gary left, he pulled out a huge life insurance policy on her. A policy that you will be glad to know he never received the money from. But it certainly set off some alarm bells. Eventually, he was detained and charged, but he was released after only a few months. To this day, no one knows if Robyn drowned or if she was murdered. A lot of people seem to suspect that he probably murdered her somewhere else and then used the snorkeling story as a cover-up, but there's no real way of knowing without a confession or more evidence. For all we know, he is actually innocent, and the current really did carry Robyn away. Robyn's body was never found, and this is something that really stuck out to me. If he did kill her, I have to wonder how he pulled it off. He was in a completely new place, so I can't imagine that he knew the area very well, much less where to stash a body, right? The timeline around her disappearance is definitely a point of interest to me, but I guess we'll probably never know what happened. But hey, maybe Robyn will show up someday and tell us her side of the story. We can always hope. So, if you want to discuss Aruba, snorkeling, or the inherent dangers of swimming in the ocean, feel free to contact me on Twitter or Instagram using the tag @DatPod. Thanks, guys.